Hey there, and welcome to Real Talk English Podcast. I'm Jack, and I'm really glad you're here with me today. In this episode, you're going to practice English in a calm, natural, and effective way. There's no pressure, no stress, and no need to understand every single word. All you have to do is listen, relax, and enjoy the story. Today, we're going to learn English with a story. A slow, clear story that is perfect for improving your listening, your pronunciation, and your speaking fluency. This is not a lesson full of grammar rules. Instead, it's a journey where your English grows naturally, step by step, as you listen and repeat. The story you're about to hear is called The Mysterious Train. It's about a late-night journey, a quiet train station, and a strange trip that slowly changes everything. The language is simple, the pace is slow, and the goal is very clear: to help you feel more confident when you speak English. Here's how we'll do it today. First, you'll listen to the story told slowly and clearly. Then, we'll look at some useful vocabulary from the story, with simple explanations and real-life examples. And finally, you'll practice shadowing, speaking along with me to build fluency and confidence. So get comfortable, take a deep breath, and remember, you can pause, repeat, or listen again anytime you want. This time is for you. Let's begin our story together. Before we begin, let me tell you a little about the story you're going to hear today. This is a short and simple story created especially for English learners. The sentences are clear, the vocabulary is useful, and the pace is slow, so you can listen comfortably and understand the meaning without feeling overwhelmed. The story is called The Mysterious Train. It takes place late at night, at a quiet train station, where an ordinary journey slowly becomes something unusual. First, everything seems normal, but little by little, small details begin to feel strange, and the journey starts to change. As you listen, don't worry if you don't understand every word. Focus on the general idea. Pay attention to the rhythm of the language, the sounds, and the way the sentences flow. This will help your English feel more natural when you speak. Remember, you're not just listening to a story. You're training your ear and your voice at the same time. After the story, we'll explore some important vocabulary together, and then you'll have time to practice shadowing. So relax, stay curious, and let the story guide you forward. Now let's begin. It was late at night when Emma arrived at the train station. The sky was dark, and the air felt cold and still. Only a few lights were on, and the station was almost empty. Emma pulled her coat closer around her body and looked around quietly. Everything felt calm, but also a little strange. She walked slowly across the platform, listening to the sound of her footsteps. The train had not arrived yet. She checked the large clock on the wall. It was already late. Emma felt tired, but she wasn't worried. Trains are often late, she thought. She sat down on a cold metal bench and waited. As she waited, she noticed how quiet the station was. No one was talking. No one was laughing. A few people stood far apart, looking at the ground or staring into the distance. Everyone seemed lost in their own thoughts. The silence made the time feel longer. Emma looked down at her ticket and read it again. It showed her destination, a small town she had never visited before. She was traveling there for a new job, a fresh start. She didn't know anyone there, and she didn't know what to expect. The thought made her feel nervous, but also a little excited. Suddenly, she heard a low sound far away. First, it was very soft. Then it became louder, the sound of a train. The ground began to shake slightly, and a warm light appeared at the end of the tracks. Slowly, the train entered the station and came to a stop in front of the platform. The doors opened with a quiet hiss. Emma stood up, took a deep breath, and stepped forward. Emma stepped onto the train and looked around. The carriage was warm and softly lit, but very quiet. A few passengers were already inside, sitting alone by the windows. No one was talking. No one was smiling. They all looked calm, but distant, as if they were thinking about something far away. She walked slowly down the aisle, pulling her small bag behind her. She found an empty seat near the window and sat down. Outside, the station lights passed slowly as the train began to move. The sound of the train was smooth and steady, almost relaxing. Emma glanced at the other passengers. There was an older woman holding a small bag in her lap. Across the aisle, a man stared out the window without moving. At the end of the carriage, a man stood quietly, holding the pole with one hand. He looked at Emma for a moment, then looked away. A few minutes later, the man walked toward her seat. He stopped and smiled gently. "Long journey?" he asked in a low, calm voice. Emma nodded. "Yes," she said. "A long one." The man paused, then said something that made her heart beat faster. "You're going to change your life tonight, Emma." She froze. Her hands tightened around her bag. "How do you know my name?" she asked. The man smiled again, but he didn't answer. Instead, he stepped back and walked to another part of the train. Emma watched him until he disappeared from view. Her mind was full of questions. She felt confused and a little scared, but she couldn't explain why. She looked around, but the other passengers stayed silent, as if nothing strange had happened at all. The train moved smoothly through the night, and Emma tried to calm her thoughts. She looked out the window, but all she could see was darkness. The reflection of her face stared back at her, and she didn't recognize the expression. She felt confused, but also curious. The man's words stayed in her mind. "You're going to change your life tonight." After some time, the train slowed down. Emma felt a small jolt as it came to a stop. She looked up, expecting to see a familiar station name, but the sign outside the window was strange. It didn't match anything on her ticket or the map she had checked earlier. The doors opened, but no one stood up to leave. The platform was empty. The train started moving again, and Emma felt a quiet sense of unease. She opened her bag and took out her phone, but there was no signal. She checked the time. Felt like they had been traveling for a long time, but the clock didn't seem to move. Everything felt slow, heavy, and unreal. They stopped again at another station. Once more, the name meant nothing to her. Emma looked around. The passengers stayed in their seats, silent and still. No one asked questions. No one complained. It was as if they all understood something she didn't. Emma's heart began to beat faster. She thought about standing up and asking someone for help. She thought about getting off the train, but something held her back. A quiet voice inside her told her to stay, to keep going, to see where this journey would lead. She took a deep breath and sat back in her seat. For the first time, she realized that this was not just a normal train ride. It was a test, a moment of choice, and whether she liked it or not, she was already part of it. After a long moment of silence, Emma felt someone sit down in the seat across from her. She looked up and saw the same man from before. His face looked calm, kind, and serious at the same time. The train continued moving, steady and quiet, as if it were listening. "This train doesn't go to places," the man said softly. "It goes to moments." Emma frowned, trying to understand his words. He continued, "Everyone on this train is here because they are standing in front of an important decision. Emma felt her chest tighten. She thought about the life she was leaving behind, the job she hated, the fear she carried every day, the feeling that something was missing. She had taken this journey hoping for change, but she hadn't realized how much courage it would require. The man looked at her and smiled gently. "You already know what you want," he said. "You're just afraid to choose it." Emma closed her eyes and took a deep breath. For the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to be honest. When she opened her eyes again, the train was slowing down. Outside the window, the sky was beginning to change. Dark blue turned into soft pink and gold. The train stopped, and the doors opened. This time, the station felt different. Warm. Real. Emma stood up. Her heart was still beating fast, but she felt calm. She stepped off the train and turned around, but the man was gone. The doors closed, and the train slowly moved away. Emma stood on the platform and smiled. She didn't know exactly what would happen next, but she knew one thing for sure. She had made her choice. And this journey, strange as it was, had helped her find the courage to move forward. And that's the end of the story. Take a moment to breathe and let it sink in. Stories help us feel the language, not just understand it, and you did a great job listening all the way through. Now, let's slow things down even more and focus on the language itself. We're going to look at some of the most useful words and phrases from the story. These are words you can use in your everyday English, whether you're speaking, listening, or thinking in English. I'll say each word clearly. Then I'll explain what it means in a simple way. After that, I'll give you a real-life example, and finally, you'll have time to repeat and practice with me. This is your moment to train your pronunciation and build confidence. Remember, there's no rush. You can pause the video, listen again, or repeat as many times as you want. Learning English is a process, and every small step matters. When you're ready, let's begin with our vocabulary practice. Okay, let's begin our vocabulary practice. Remember, listen first, then repeat with me. Don't worry about being perfect. The goal is to feel comfortable and confident as you speak. The first word is platform. A platform is the area at a train station where people wait for the train. For example, she waited on the platform for her train to arrive. Now repeat after me. Platform. Good. She waited on the platform. Very nice. The next word is late at night. This phrase means very late in the evening, when most people are sleeping. For example, he arrived late at night after a long trip. Now repeat, late at night. Good. She arrived late at night. Great job. Now let's look at the word quiet. Quiet means not noisy, calm, and peaceful. For example, the station was quiet and empty. Now repeat, quiet. Very good. The station was quiet. Excellent. The next word is confused. Confused means you are not sure what is happening or what to think. For example, she felt confused by the strange situation. Now repeat, confused. Good. She felt confused. Nice and clear. Our next word is realize. To realize means to suddenly understand something clearly. For example, she realized this was not a normal journey. Now repeat realize. Good. She realized the truth. Well done. Now let's practice the word decision. A decision is a choice you make after thinking about something. For example, moving to a new city was a big decision. Now repeat, decision. Good. She made a decision. Excellent. The next word is journey. A journey is a trip from one place to another, often an important one. For example, this journey changed her life. Now repeat journey. Very good. It was a long journey. Perfect. Now we have the word choose. To choose means to decide between two or more options. For example, she chose a new path in her life. Now repeat, choose. Good. She chose to move forward. Great job. Let's finish with the word change. Change means to become different or to make something different. For example, this experience helped her change. Now repeat, change. Very good. She decided to change her life. Excellent work. Take a deep breath. You did great. This kind of practice helps your English feel more natural every time you do it. Keep listening, keep repeating, and trust the process. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. You've just spent time listening, understanding, and speaking English in a natural and meaningful way. That's something to feel proud of. Every minute you practice like this, your English becomes stronger, clearer, and more confident. Remember, fluency doesn't come from rushing or trying to be perfect. It comes from consistency, patience, and trust in the process. Stories help your brain connect sounds, meaning, and emotion, and that connection is what makes language stick. If you enjoyed this story, come back and practice again. You can listen another time, repeat the shadowing, or simply relax and enjoy the language. Every time you do, you're training your ear and your voice a little more. I'm Jack, and this is Real Talk English Podcast. Thank you for learning with me today. Keep going, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.